All right, everybody. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well on this Sunday. We've got some Seattle Seahawks news. The news is from last night. This was announced in the evening yesterday. I didn't feel like making a video yesterday evening, so I decided to just save it for today because it's notable, but it's certainly not anything that is earth-shattering. It's not anything that is going to really move the needle here, but it is interesting and at least worth one video to discuss. So yesterday, the Seahawks made a signing, and it is of a cornerback that most people know about. If they know about this guy, they know about him because of his last name, which is going to be a little bit difficult to maneuver. Now, I believe that it goes. So, first of all, this is a cornerback, Noah Igbinoghene. I believe that is how it goes. That is, I believe, how Pro Football Reference lists it, Igbinoghene. So, assuming that is indeed the case, he is, for the moment, a Seattle Seahawk on a one-year deal. Mike Dugar reported this initially. This is obviously Brady Henderson. And this is actually a fairly well-known player for football fans, I think, because he was a first-round pick back in 2020. He was the 30th overall pick by the Miami Dolphins in 2020. Didn't really pan out, hasn't really been a very prolific player in his career, mostly because of injuries. He really has not been able to stay healthy. And you take a look at his career, he's had moments, he's shown potential, and he's still young. He's only 26, and he's going to turn 27 in November. So he's 26 years old, played college football at Auburn. So this was a highly touted player. And he was, like I said, somebody that ultimately went in the first round. And I remember him a little bit from that year, but he has only really had one season where he was a consistent part of an NFL defense, which was 2024. You look at the other seasons in his career, a couple of starts here and there, and missing a lot of games, playing a lot of games as a reserve or backup, and just generally not doing a lot to really leave much of an impression. So, one career interception from 2022, spent a year in Dallas after leaving Miami, and then went to Washington these last 2 years, where Washington is where he's put his best foot forward. So, Washington, he started 12 games over the last 2 years, including 10 in 2024. That's about it. As far as big sample sizes go on Igbinoghene, 2024 is all we got. In 2024, Washington did make the NFC Championship game, but they weren't really good defensively. So, how much credit you're going to give anybody on that defense is, your mileage may vary, and definitely tread lightly. Now, just in terms of the raw numbers, 55 tackles, no interceptions, but 7 passes defensed. It's not bad. If you take a look at the coverage numbers on Pro Football Reference, which I do tend to prefer to use, you take a look at 2024. That's the one year he's had where he actually has meaningful volume. Every other year is tiny sample size or small sample size. He's never been targeted more than 30 times in a season, except for 2024 when he got 71 targets. So that season, kind of an outlier. And 71 targets, less than 400 yards. That's actually pretty good. That's 5.6 yards a target. That's actually solid. And obviously you can't just end your evaluation of the player there. I understand that, but just in terms of the numbers, that is pretty agreeable. 86.4 QB rating when targeted despite giving up 3 touchdowns is also actually really strong. Like if you look at 2025, a smaller sample size, but you can see the numbers on a per target basis get a lot worse, but you don't really notice it from the QB rating because no touchdowns. So if you look at 2024, the coverage numbers are pretty good. That's pretty darn agreeable. And yeah, there's some bad stuff from these other years, like that rookie year in Miami, but that was a long time ago and he only got targeted 25 times. So what are we really doing here? Now, Pro Football Focus, not a big fan. They've never graded him well. Last year was like the one year where they gave him a grade that was even semi-passable. 2025, they gave him a 55.6. 2024, which was the one year he played a lot, they gave him one of the worst grades of any player in football. Now, you take a look at the breakdown, you can see that they don't really like anything about him all that much. And with the exception of a little bit in 2022, when again he barely played, they've never really liked anything about him. So there's not really much here that can be said in favor of Igbinoghene based on Pro Football Focus. But I did want to check in on something here as it pertains to his usage over his career. So if you go over to this part of the Pro Football Focus page on Igbinoghene, you have corner. He's obviously a cornerback, like we've said. Outside corner, he was mostly lined up on the outside in Miami and Dallas, and he was mostly utilized as a slot corner in Washington. So as you can see, actually, let me move. 664 snaps as an outside corner in his career, 991. Now, based on the information here, my assumption would be he's probably more comfortable as a slot, which is why that's where he's played mostly the last 2 years. But I think that it is notable that he's done a lot of both. And it's possible that we're looking at this not just because we think he has potential to be a good player, but also because he's a player who can play inside and outside, and you're not going to be particularly upset with the with the outcome. He's not incapable of doing one or the other. He is capable of doing both. Now, is he capable of doing both or even either well? Eh, depends on who you ask. And oh, and by the way, while we're here, I should point out he also has some experience as like a box safety, almost like a linebacker, I guess you could say. So there is a little bit of safety stuff here, maybe, that's going to help. But one thing to keep in mind is that Seattle, before yesterday, had 3 true cornerbacks on the roster: Spoon, Job, and Pritchett. If you're not counting E-Man Worry, which, again, depends on who you ask, we had 3 guys. Now, I know that yesterday we signed Jamar Jean-Charles, but he was on the practice squad last year, and I think that's basically what he is, so I don't really know if that counts. Igbinoghene, being a former first-round pick who has at least shown a little bit of something these last 2 years, there's a little bit more potential going on there. I'm not going to try to get anybody too excited about this, but we need depth in the cornerback position. We do need some depth. Now, I'm hoping that this signing does not mean we're closing the door on a veteran who is a little more reliable, like a Marlon Humphrey, Cam Taylor-Britt, Rasul Douglas, etc., etc. L'Jarius Sneed, by the way, also. But I'm hoping that this is a sign for the bottom of the depth chart alongside guys like Pritchett. Now, the money, I don't know what the money is yet, but rest assured the money should be pretty cheap. Maybe less than 2 mil. So it won't affect considerations. This should not affect compensatory pick considerations at all. If he cost enough to lose us a comp pick, then I'd say we probably made a pretty big mistake. I don't think this guy is worth much more than $2 million a year, probably less. With the way he kind of regressed last year, you can see that he played a decent amount, but he still didn't play a lot, and he played a lot less than he played in 2024. This should not be a high value player. I think his last 2 contracts were 1 year, $1.5 million. You should get him for about that much. So yeah, Igbinoghene is on the team for now, and we need corner depth, so I like it. I'm hoping this doesn't close the door on doing something a little bit more reliable, is how I'll put it. So, yeah, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. Also, if you feel any way about John Charles being back in Seattle, talk about that too. Although, again, feel pretty confident that he's just he's just kind of getting earmarked for the practice squad. All right, go Hawks.